Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Scale 3.0, and there is a consciousness with which we chose this topic. I have been into industry since 2001, and you know why I call this Scale 3.0 is because you've seen a big phase where the industry grew right from 2003 to 2008, 9 to that extent, and that I call it where the scales were built, new customers came in, more MFDs came into the business. And then you had a phase which is 2013 to 2023 as we stand right now, and that's what I call where the next round of, of influx of customers, investors, influx of distribution, the spread, the number of manufacturers, the kind of products and the kind of different ways of investing kicked in. But from here on what, right? And what is that next level of scale? Many times when I go and meet many of the MFDs, the question that gets asked is that, how do I double from here? What is it that I do next? I have tapped my capacity, I have invested into my infra, I have created the base, and how do I move to the next level, right? So let's just go back and see how the industry has shaped up. If you go back and see about 10 years back, this industry as a percentage of deposit base was only 11%. And I think commendable job, thanks to everybody in this room and many of our colleagues outside, we are now 24% of that base, and which is I think a great spot to be in. Interestingly, and just before this, you had a session of Saurabh, and he spoke about financialization of assets. So if you look at the MF as a vehicle, right, the penetration still is very, very low compared to the developed economy and the developed part. So I think we have a long way to go, and hence you will see scale 3.0, you will see scale 4.0, and you will see scale 5.0 as we go ahead over the next couple of decades. But very interestingly, if you break this whole AUM into mutual fund AUM as a percentage of deposit, and this is done and dusted, right? I mean, when I had joined the industry and when I was management trainee, I think I've grown up seeing this slide. I've grown up seeing that, look at the size and the scale of an insurance company, and that time it was Life Insurance Corporation of India. And I think over few years, mutual fund. And if I have to rewind, I really did not as such relate to that, but I was shown that vision. Didn't know that it's possible, and this is where we have reached. So I think 41 lakh crores of assets that we manage is the size and the scale we have already achieved, right? Whether you look at the customer count, whether you look at the geographies from where customers are investing, whether you look at the kind of products that customers are investing, we have reached a particular scale, both us, MF industry as manufacturers, you as distributors and advisors. But there is a long way to go. And what we think that one of the asset class which is ignored, and if you look at the base below, actually it's not the 41 lakh, but it's that 13.5 lakh base. And this 13.5 lakh crore base is so concentrated towards lot of corporate treasury money, lot of HNWI money, of course some bit of retail money, etc., etc. But if you have to scale up from here, right, and there's an interesting time when I'm talking to you, but if you have to scale up from here, how easy or difficult it is, and will only equities or advisor of just long-term wealth creation through equities is the only way to scale? So I think that's the question on which I start. Before I proceed, I'll tell you a very interesting story. When I started working in this industry, I started doing institutional sales, right? And my boss used to be Kalpen. And I used to always, when you do institutional sales, most of the times you talk only about liquidity management. You talk about liquid funds and low duration funds, and life ends there, right? Every day you do purchase and redemption equal to the size of a small AMC. And the question that I had asked him that, why is it in retail, people are not buying liquid fund? I keep just 10,000 rupees in my account, and everything else I am parking into liquid fund. And I'm making couple of % more than traditional savings account. So why is it not happening? And the answer that he gave to me is still engraved that, look, I mean, I agree with you, it's very, very interesting. By that logic, banking system should not have savings account float, but वो 5-10 पैसे में क्या revenue बनेगा? Is it even worth the effort for anybody? Is it even worth educating and talking against a system which is hundreds and hundreds of years old. And I left it there. But I think one thing that has changed at this point of time is that those days are gone where you had to go and physically pick up, where you had to go and physically write everything. And then the effort was just not worth for that 5 to 10 basis points of revenue that you would generate. So I think that the next level of scale comes from here. And this pool of savings, which I am convinced, and इस room में अगर कोई है मुझे challenge करने के लिए तो कर सकते हो, but I'm convinced that it's not necessarily going to go into equity, right? Rarely you will see that somebody of his entire savings pool is investing into only wealth creation asset class. In fact, if you reach a situation where India, the number of wealthy people are going to grow and grow and grow, then as you accumulate wealth, wealth preservation also becomes one of the most important criteria when it comes to investing. So it's very, very simple that savings today, which are getting channelized to the traditional instrument, and I've just put bank deposit, there are many more. There is post office and there's provident fund, etc., etc. But mutual fund also, according to me, has a very, very big role to play out here. The problem that I see, and just few days back, I was at a network FP event, the problem that we face is that जो मुझे नहीं समझता है वो मैं कस्टमर को कैसे समझाऊं. I am not able to answer that fixed income fund में NAV क्यों गिर गई. मैं ये नहीं समझा पा रहा हूँ कि एक ऐसा सिचुएशन आता है साइकिल में जब एक साल के रिटर्न सिर्फ 4% क्यों आते हैं, right? Broadly, until there is a credit event, you will not lose principal because the interest will keep on coming on the debt investment that you make, but it is complex to explain. तो जब मैं खुद नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ कि ये क्यों हो रहा है तो मैं कस्टमर को कैसे समझाऊँ, right? And there is no other way to simplify because if you get into technical part of it, it is always complex. So I think that the mantras and the conversations have to be very, very simple. But if you simplify it for the consumer, it's not the difficult asset class as we think it is. So why are we talking about fixed income right now? Right? Of course, like equities, fixed income also has its cycle. कभी rates ऊपर होती है, कभी rates नीचे होती है. लोग पूछते हैं कि लास्ट एक साल में रिटर्न सिर्फ 5% या 5.5% आया. मैं पूछता हूँ एक साल पहले अगर FD में भी लगाते तो भी वही आता. So why so much of focus onto mutual fund? In fact, आप अगर एनालिसिस करें कि जितनी बार रिटर्न 7% आया है लगाने के बाद, उस वक्त ट्रेडिशनल इन्वेस्टमेंट के भी रिटर्न्स वही थे. जब रिटर्न 5.5% है तो ट्रेडिशनल आपके एवेन्यू, आपके चॉइसेस के रिटर्न्स लार्जली वही थे, राइट? यू कैन नॉट हैव अ वेरी डिफरेंशियल रिटर्न. इनफैक्ट आई थिंक द स्किल्स ऑफ फंड मैनेजमेंट कम्स इन. So coming to why fixed income, it's very, very interesting, right? I have the rates of all the papers and maturity that we had about 1 year and 4 months back. Everything was between 4 to 5%. That entire pool has shifted now to 7.5% at this point of time. You will be hearing that abhi mujhe bank deposit mein 7 mil rahe, 7.5 mil rahe. There are some banks who are talking about 8.25. If you think that a bank deposit today can give you 7 to 8%, do you have any doubt that a mutual fund can also deliver, not deliver 7 to 8%, right? So I think interesting time for fixed income because the rates are very, very attractive. The rates are attractive outside mutual fund. The rates are attractive even in the portfolio YTMs. And then this is what I spoke about, right? Eventually you have liquidity on your side, you have tax on your side. You have expertise and track record on your side. So I think today if you go back and there will be so many funds and choices available with almost more than 20 years and 10 years of track record for you to show the data to the customer that look, if you bought this, it's not that you will have, आपके कुछ ऐसे दिन होंगे जब NAV गिरेगी, पर क्या फर्क पड़ता है अगर आप 3 साल, 4 साल, 5 साल, 10 साल, आप आपके FD का पैसा जो आपने जिस समय तक रखा था, अगर उसी समय तक आप म्यूचुअल फंड में रहते तो there is enough track record available and expertise is of course given. So this is what I was telling you that if you look at the YTMs, right, eventually अगर मार्केट में पेपर के ये रेट्स है तो पोर्टफोलियो के YTM के रेट्स भी वही होंगे. I've just put across some products from liquidity management and from core investment perspective, but most of the YTMs and with this rate hike, this has got, so these are the rates after the rate hike that has happened in the month of February. But you have almost 7.5 to 8% kind of a YTM and a carry or the accrual of the portfolio at this point of time for our customers. So why fixed income right now? Right? If you break the economic cycle into 4 parts, right, where there is a recovery phase, right, the country is just coming back or the economy is just coming back and it's recovering to a point where it is expanding, to a point where it becomes very hot, heated, and then from there on it goes into a slowdown mode. The fixed income also, the curve also moves along with where the economic cycle is. And today where we are at this point of time, where we are not recovering, we are doing well as a country. At the same time, we are not in a boom phase and in a frothy phase. You have a situation where you have a very flat yield curve. Right? आप 1 साल की CD लो, आपको 7.5% मिलेंगे, आप 10 year G-Sec खरीदो, आपको 7.5% मिलेंगे. Right? Because you are into a situation where you are into an expansion mode, there is demand for money, the rate hikes have happened to cool down the inflation, and your 1 year point or your short-term point at this point of time is extremely attractive. So what do you do at this point of time, right? If this is where we are, you basically stay on the lower end side. क्यों मैं 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल की ड्यूरेशन लूँ, एक इंटरेस्ट रेट रिस्क लूँ, जब मैं 1 साल, 1.5 साल, 2 साल के पेपर खरीद सकता हूँ या वैसे पोर्टफोलियोज खरीद सकता हूँ और मुझे वही अक्रूवल आने वाला है. The advantage of a long-term bond fund will be that when the interest rates come down, the capital appreciation will be much higher, which may not be the case for the shorter end side, but we are still far away from that. We are not into, ये rates रहेंगे. So interesting ये है कि ऐसा नहीं है कि आज जाके बेचना है, कल जाके mark to market आने वाला है, 12% fixed income में return आ जाने वाले. I think we are in a phase where rates will stay where they are for some time to go. And if that is the case, then we have enough time to keep on accumulating as much as investors' money into the fixed income space from the traditional instrument, right? I don't think it's against equity. I think it is against a traditional avenue, which is way bigger than where we are on the mutual fund side. I think one question that people ask that 10 year is at 7.5. You are seeing lot of HNI interest. लोग आके बोल रहे हैं कि आपके पास कोई 15 साल का प्रोडक्ट है, मुझे 7.5 पे लॉक कर देना है. हम ऐसे सोचते हैं कि जब आपका इन्फ्लेशन 4% पे था, तब 10 ईयर 7% पे बहुत अट्रैक्टिव लगता था, 6% पे ठीक है, इट्स न्यूट्रल. टुडे व्हेन योर इन्फ्लेशन ट्रेजेक्टरी इज हाई, we think that the shorter end at 7.5 is much more attractive than a longer end at 7.5. The longer end becomes attractive at 8. So ideally, but the problem is that people have seen 5% rate for some time, and there is a recency effect of a consumer or an investor, and hence anything that is upwards of 7.5, the customer is coming and saying कि मैं ये पैसे lock कर देता हूँ. Another area, and before I go to where all we should look at, see, very good innovation that has happened in the industry right now, right? Industry used to have fixed maturity plans earlier, and now industry has come out with target maturity funds, which are like a open-ended FMPs. What I have seen, right? मैं बोलता हूँ जहाँ पे भी बात करते हैं 100% success आती है. Very simple. I just had a recent incident where I had a friend's father who wanted to invest into deposit, and all I had to say is कितना मिल रहा है deposit में? So he said 7.5%. बोला uncle tax तो मैं full tax भरता हूँ. I'm a 30% tax bracket person. So I said 7.5% अगर आप 30% tax bracket में से ले लोगे तो आपका तो 5.5% आएगा return, right? Can I give you a product which is investing into government securities and state loans and still give you that return? और अगर 6% का मैं इंडेक्स पकड़ता हूँ तो मोटा मोटी आपको कोई टैक्स भरना ही नहीं आएगा, right? So now suddenly my pitch to him is, can I offer you a 10% product, a product where you will invest and pay tax and still make around 7.2% return, right? It took us 1 minute to cut a 50 lakh rupees check. I don't think so that how much ever big pitch that I would have given him for equity, the deposit money straight away without shaking would have moved straight away to the equity side of the portfolio. So very cool. मतलब अगर हमारे बस में हो तो हर बैंक के बाहर, ब्रांच के बाहर खड़े रह जाए और बोले क्यों सेविंग्स अकाउंट में रख रहे हो, लिक्विड फंड ऑलमोस्ट 7% पे पहुंच रहे हैं, लिक्विड प्लस फंड ऑलमोस्ट 7.5 पे पहुंच रहे हैं, तो 4 पे, 5 पे या 6 पे पैसे क्यों रहने चाहिए, राइट? This is what I spoke about. It's a very simple product. it's something which you can blindly at any point of time go and give as far as the customer says कि हाँ मैं सितंबर 2026 सितंबर 2027 तक नहीं देखूंगा इसे. अगर मैं नहीं देखूंगा तो 7 सवा 7 के आसपास पोस्ट टैक्स रिटर्न आने की पूरी संभावना है. And the last product that I wanted to touch upon is that look at this average, right? When I was talking about a track record that I was talking about, look at the post-tax average 10-year, 3-year rolling. For the last 10 years, average 3-year was 8.3%, and the minimum has been 5.4 on a post-tax basis. Now, all it needs is a 3-year. आप equity को समय देते हो, cook करने के लिए, bake करने के लिए, long term बोलते हो, पर फिक्स्ड इनकम में डालने से 7 दिन बाद अगर कोई एनएवी गिर जाती है या 1 साल का रिटर्न सिर्फ 4.5 आता है तो हम क्वेश्चन करना शुरू कर देते हैं. The conclusion that I wanted to end with is that the size and the scale that you want to build, having built a particular AUM through a buoyant SIP book, through an equity and a hybrid book, if you don't focus and concentrate on the fixed income side where the average ticket size of a customer is 10 times that of an equity, you will never be able to bring the next level of scale to your business. As far as revenues are concerned, while they will be lower, but today technology has ensured that you don't have to incur the costs that you incur to generate that kind of a revenue. So a 10x ticket size, even at 1/3 of the revenue, is still much more profitable. And the only thing that we need to invest is trying to simplify this category to the. So our job is to simplify it to the MFDs and our distribution, and I think your job is to simplify it to the customer. All the very best for Scale 3.0, and I really hope that we are able to show the slide where we are 3x and 4x of the fixed income AUM that we are as an industry. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.